One thing that is important to know and understand is how the pose and motion tool goes around assigning the poses and motion values to items in the selection. The tools try to be intelligent about the way they pick up the items that are stored in the pose or motion and apply that data to the items that you've got selected for application. We'll see an example of how this all works together going on here. For instance, let's take these 4 bones that I have here in different colours, and you see I've just got these couple of different poses there, this position at frame 0, another there at frame 10. Let us say that I just come and start selecting them any old how. Here we go, we've got all 4 bones selected there. I will copy their pose here at frame 0, jump out to frame 20, and I'm going to pick the green and the blue bone there and paste the pose. As you can see, the green and blue bone do indeed get the poses that belong to the green and blue bone. Of course, if I select all 4 bones, I can come out to frame 20 here, I can hit paste, and of course the pink and red bones also snap to their positions. Every bone is getting its own stored pose position. In this instance, what is happening is the pose tool and the motion tool alike would do store names. These have just got simple names, bone 3, bone 4, bone 1, bone 2, and so on. Even though I've stored the pose on all 4 bones, because my secondary selection when it comes to paste that pose contains the same names that were in the original stored pose, the names get matched correctly. So whatever was stored for the item named bone 1 goes to bone 1, whatever was stored for the item named bone 4 goes to bone 4, and so on. It doesn't matter what order I select things in, or whether I have a full or partial selection of things. We can see, for instance, if I take here the red and green bones, and let's come over to frame 10 here, I will copy their pose. I'll now come over to frame 30 here and select all 4 bones and click paste. We see, of course, that even though all 4 bones are selected here, because only those 2 were stored, only those 2 actually get the application of the pose, whilst these 2 don't even get keyed in their existing place. This is all fine when, of course, we are copying and pasting poses or motions between the same set of selected items, or a subset of. Of course, one thing that we want to do fairly often is to be able to take the pose or motion from one set of items or hierarchy or whatever else and paste it onto a new one. In this case, the matching is done by selection order. So here's what we're going to do. I have these 4 cameras, so I'm going to select them in this order, 1, 2, 3, and 4 there. I'm going to copy their pose, and I'm going to select the bones in more or less the same order, 1, 2, 3, and 4, should I say visual order going around the screen there. Come over here to frame 40 and paste those poses. There we can see that they have gone in the order that they were selected. Let me now do the reverse, so I'm going to select this camera, then this one, then this one, then that one there, copy the pose, but I'm now going to select the bones in the same as previous order, this way round, come out to frame 50, and we'll see that when I paste the pose, they've switched around their positions. In this case, the first selected item gets copied and pasted to the other first selected item, second selected to second selected, and so on. By understanding the way that this rule works, it will enable you to accurately and correctly copy the poses and motions of things between different hierarchical items. Of course, if you ever get completely stuck for something or are getting a wrong result, you can always do it piecemeal on an item by item basis. Select a single item, copy, select any other single item, paste. When we are working with Rigit rigs and using not the general item selection methods but any of the rig mode selection methods here, we get a slightly different behaviour. With Rigit rigs, pieces are matched depending upon the part they belong to. So for instance, on our character here we've got a left leg 1. Over on the T-Rex we've also got a left leg 1. Left leg 1 will always map to left leg 1. Left leg 2 will go to left leg 2, and so on. Again, we don't have to use whole rig selections, we can use partial selections by choosing part. But you can notice that if, for instance, I select the arm part here, copy that pose, come over to the Rex leg, and choose paste that pose, nothing happens, because the stored pose part was not present in my selection for pasting. We can, however, see that it's possible to narrow down selections. So if I come out to some point there where our character is in mid-stride, something like this, then I can select a piece of him there, choose rig, copy his pose, come to the Rex, choose paste. Of course, we get a retargeted pose on the whole rig. But in some instances, this may not be desirable. Notice, of course, that the Rex has these arms in a different base pose from, of course, our humanoid character here. Because of the different offset base pose, they're getting swung out of position a bit. Now, we could, of course, fix that because it is simply a matter of base pose. If we take the offsets here, we can simply fix the posing on the offsets so that the base underlying pose for the arms here is more similar to, of course, what we would have on our fellow here. However, if we're copying a motion, having the arms, swinging back and forth the way that a human does when it walks might not be ideal for a T-Rex. As such, we might want to go with another option, copying and pasting only a partial motion or a partial pose, that is in terms of part of the rig. So I could then select my character here in full rig mode, copy his pose as it is, come over to the Rex. Now I can't select the root, which is a bone, and the IK goals here at the same time because I've got a Null's bones rig here. So let me just turn on the visibility of his bones. That allows me to select bones that belong in each leg as well as the root item. I can now deactivate rig, choose part, so I have 3 parts selected, the main root part, left leg and right leg parts. And when I paste the pose, you will see that the pose has, of course, even though it was copied for the full rig, has only been pasted onto those selected parts. As such, the arms have been left alone, as of course is the spine. I could have included that had I wished to, and so on. Of course, the last thing that you're able to do on a Rig-It rig like this, should you ever find the need, is perhaps a situation like this where I have a pose on a finger. In this case, this is the right finger 1, and it is posed something like that. Now, if I copy the pose for this part, come over to right finger 2, and paste it, of course nothing happens. Reason being, it is a different part. In a situation like this, because the Rig-It rig is all native, there's no reason at all that I can't just go back to treating this as a general item. Thus, I've got the right finger 1 here, control selected, I can copy its pose, come over to the right finger 2, paste that pose, and transfer a pose or a motion on a Rig-It rig as though it were just a general item using the rules that we saw before. So there we have all of the main need-to-know basics of working with the pose and motion tools here on the animation toolbox. In the next video, we'll look over the mirror and match last options that are available to us that give us even more flexibility in how we work with our poses and motions.